What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel. Yo. Well, I still felt like I still had to do the intro for you guys, even though Steven's not with me tonight. Unfortunately, we watched the fights. He might have screamed a little bit too loud and completely lost his voice. So he's unable to talk and chat up the whole thing, do the whole podcast, and he didn't want to half-ass it for you guys. So I said, let me take over. I'll do a solo podcast for you guys. And yeah, I mean, 261 was such a great event that we couldn't just let the week pass by and not talk about the entire card. So, I mean, we have to start at the top, right? I mean, Gamebred Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman, that was insane. Going into it, everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall because, of course, we did see the fight happen not too long ago. And a lot of people thought Kamaru Usman was probably just going to rinse and repeat, do the exact same thing that he did to, guarantee a victory over a tough guy like Gamebred Masvidal. And it's so crazy to see that he went with a totally different style and was able to win in a completely different style of fighting. He was very cautious in the first fight. He was very wrestling heavy, and that's kind of what Gamebred said he started to train for. He was like, I felt like I was going to have to wrestle for 5 rounds again, just like I did last time. So the element of surprise was definitely in there. Kamaru Usman has been definitely working on his hands a lot, and it's safe to say that he shocked the world as well as George Masvidal last night and got a vicious KO. That 2 that he landed was probably one of the cleanest punches that we've seen all year. I mean, that thing was just perfect. It's one of those ones where you watch the opponent literally just like collapse as it happens. You just see their body go limp, and Masvidal is one of the toughest guys in the sport, but nobody, not a human alive, I don't think, could take that kind of a power shot from Kamaru Usman. So props to the champ. He absolutely showed up. And Dana White said it last night, and I kind of feel the same way, that Kamaru Usman is slowly but surely climbing his way towards being one of or the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. And it's kind of hard to argue that when you start to see just how complete of a fighter he is, how he's able to stop everybody, how he's able to, beat people down and break their will to where, yeah, maybe there are people that will wind up getting rematches against him, but they probably don't want it. And, the fans are like, yeah, I mean, we saw this. We know how it's going to end. But since there's nobody else, and as he said, he's lapping people right now, let's see him run through the division again, which is kind of like how George St. Pierre did it. And that's how he became the welterweight GOAT and kind of the general consensus GOAT. But it's kind of interesting to see just how impressive Kamaru Usman's career has gone ever since he got the belt. It's only been up and up and up from there. I really do feel like there's only one guy that can truly test him at this current moment that we know of for sure, and that's Colby Covington. And he's one of the other guys, a victim of, we've already seen this already, so we know, and it's probably going to end the same way. But, Colby, is able to do things with the mental warfare side of the game and the pre-fight antics to maybe try to get Kamaru out of his headspace and get him into a weird groove where he's engaging in a different style of a fight than what he usually likes to come in and do. I don't know if I would predict Colby to win that fight. I would probably go with the champ. At this point, you'd be a fool not to bet on the champ, Kamaru Usman, every time he steps in the ring because he's just that good. But that is definitely the fight to make. It's the fight I want to see them do next. And, at the end of the day, fighting is storytelling. It's promotion. We're trying to entertain. We're trying to be entertained as fans. And that fight checks all the boxes. And not only is it the most compelling as far as the promotional side and the storytelling side, but skills versus skills, it is probably the fight that makes the most sense at 170. And those are probably the 2 greatest fighters at the 170-pound division right now in the world. So I think we'll more than likely see that fight happen later this year. Probably not too long, though. I feel like after that vacation Kamaru Usman said he's going to take his daughter on, he's going to start to get that itch and want to scratch it and get right back into camp, get up there to Trevor Whitman, and get back to work. So I would really like to see that fight happen in the third quarter of this year. Maybe if we have to wait till the holiday season, I'm fine with that. But For me, that's just the fight we have to see happen. And, I think other things will happen, and we'll see all the ducks align and get in a row whenever the 170 top contenders kind of fight their way towards the top, and we kind of see what's next for everybody. Obviously, Khamzat's in the mix, and he could probably, with a couple of wins, find himself right there as the top contender. And you've got the Wonderboy Thompsons of the world that I think would do pretty well in certain matchups. And there's a lot of fun at 170. 170 right now they've been kind of an annoying division because they're not really wanting to fight each other. But when they do fight and they give us the shows, they certainly give us really good performances and shows that we're happy to see. So I was super excited to see that. And then, from top to bottom, this card absolutely delivered. And, when you look at the co-main event, talk about shocking the world. I guess this entire card was kind of a shocking card, right? Everything that happened from the start of the main card all the way to the very end was pretty shocking. And I feel like it was only right for the fans to be there and experience it in the moment and live attendance. It's different. There's a totally different vibe. And, Rose Namajunas, I picked against her. Steven picked against her. We certainly didn't think that she was going to be able to get over on Weili Zhang, but my God, Rose Namajunas is clearly the best fighter at 115 pounds as far as the females are concerned, and I don't think there's anybody that would deny that. She is, the striking, the way she moves, her fluidity is really, I almost feel like it's underrated. I know people give her due, and they always respect her talents, but at a point I start to think that maybe Rose Namajunas is a little bit underrated. Not only her fluidity and her striking, the abundance of strikes that she's able to throw and how her arsenal is pretty wide, and her variety and everything that she chooses to throw is very different and high level. But her power is incredibly underrated. Rose Namajunas is throwing hands of stone. She doesn't really look like the kind of girl that would knock people out cold, but she's absolutely doing that. And I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't bet against Rose Namajunas in the near future, because the top contenders right now, she's kind of got their number. Weili Zhang, who will probably be back in a title fight very soon, and then Joanna Jędrzejczyk, that she's going to beat both of them when they face each other, pretty much every time they face each other. So I don't know, maybe we see her move up because she is a little bit bigger for the division, or maybe she just stays down there and becomes the strawweight queen. I could probably see that happening, and she's always doing things and defying odds, and she loses the belt. She's the first female to ever regain a belt, so I'm sure she's very, very excited about that. And that front leg high kick right to the face was beautiful. The way she was able to execute, she stayed super smooth in the pocket, but she was moving around really well, staying out of the power shots range that Weili likes to stay in. And Weili was trying to work her way in, but nothing doing there. And Rose shut the lights out pretty early. So I do feel like Zhang is still one of the best 115ers on the planet. She's a very tough competitor. She just got caught. And if she makes a good, compelling case for herself, I could see her winding up in a title fight again very soon. But Rose had her number, and that's about all there is to that one. That was short-lived, but it was a very exciting fight while we had it. And the ladies, they didn't disappoint us at all last night. You had a masterclass for as long as it lasted with Rose Namajunas, but talk about masterclass, you got to tip your hat to Valentina Shevchenko. Everybody going into this knew that Valentina Shevchenko is arguably the most skilled female fighter on the entire planet. Obviously, Amanda Nunes has 2 victories over her, so when it goes head-to-head, it doesn't make all the sense in the world. But skill for skill, if we take size out of it and you just take all the females in the world and they were the same size, Valentina Shevchenko is the most skilled female fighter on the planet, and she's probably in the top 5 or top 10 for all fighters, including all the males from top to bottom of the UFC's roster. She's just that good. And she's at a point now where she's not only beating everybody and with these flawless victories, essentially, she's beating them at their own game. okay, you're a heavy grappler. Watch this. I'm gonna grapple you up and submit you. You like takedowns. You want to go with some wrestling? Watch this. I'm gonna take you down for a record amount of time. I think she got 7 takedowns. Don't correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that was 7 takedowns last night against Andrade, who is a legit black belt, a legit badass, and somebody who is as tough as nails and seemingly is a very hard person to get to the ground and very hard to keep on the ground once you are able to do that. So Valentina is just on another level. I think she's operating at a different frequency. The whole spy talk is starting to seem more and more real every day. She's speaking the 7 languages. I don't know how many she rattled off in the post-fight speech, but there was a handful in there, and it was very impressive. She sounds fluent in all of them. And, she's a great mixed martial arts. She's a great person for the sport. I feel like a lot of people, man and woman, female, children, adults, everybody can look up to Valentina Shevchenko. She has clearly dedicated a lot of time to a lot of things as far as learning languages, as far as learning martial arts, as far as becoming a sharpshooter. She just spends a lot of time, and she's one of those people that can be very inspiring. You watch somebody that does so many things so well, and you have to think, well, how does she do that? She must just be special. No, she spends hours and hours and hours and years and countless time on all these crafts that she's trying to get good at, and these are the things that she's passionate about. These are the things she enjoys, and definitely her hard work is paying off because she's kind of paving her way right into the Hall of Fame, right into the Mount Rushmore of female mixed martial arts as one of the greatest of all time. But when it's all said and done, she might end up being the greatest of all time. That performance, it doesn't get any better than that. To finish off with raining elbows down from a crucifix position is that's almost one of the worst ways to get finished. Is like you literally get both your arms tied up and you're just laying there kind of taking shots from a person that's on top of you, and you can't do anything. You can't even buck them off if you really tried your hardest. So she's that good. Her striking is so good. We were talking about it last night. I feel like her game plan is something that she's able to stick to every single time. And, there are some wrestlers in the sport that you can say the same thing for, but generally wrestlers will have a little bit more of a boring style, but they'll stick to it, and it'll be a great victory for them, but it might not win them any fans, and the crowd might boo a couple times here and there. But Valentina sticks to her game plan, and her game plan just so happens to be a Muay Thai heavy, very exciting, powerful striking style. So I was really impressed. I was really entertained, and I really, really enjoyed watching her compete last night. She is, without a doubt, my favorite female fighter to watch fight right now. She just because of the skills alone. She's so good, and she seems like a really sweet person. And at this point, they're starting to look around, and the room seems relatively empty as to who she's going to fight next, or what direction is the bullet going to aim at next. And there's only a few options. You've got Lauren Murphy taking on JoJo Calderwood, and I feel like the winner of that fight, let's fingers crossed it's Lauren Murphy. I believe that will be a victorious fight for Lauren, should get the next title shot. But then you always have these other fights that wind up happening. Rose, maybe she decides she doesn't want to cut weight that much and she jumps up to 125. I feel like she might get to jump the line. That sucks for the 125ers, but you know how the UFC operates. And I feel like for sure if Weili Zhang would have won last night, that she would have jumped to 125 and gone for champ status, but that didn't happen. So that kind of makes me breathe a little bit easier for the 125ers that are really hoping to get a shot at Valentina's title. And that's a tough thing to ask for. You want to ask for basically the toughest fight in female mixed martial arts right now. But at this point, I'd really like to see the winner of Lauren Murphy versus JoJo Calderwood get the call. I think that they probably will go in that direction, and it'll definitely be a very competitive fight. But it'll be a tough night for whoever steps in there with Valentina, because she's proven to be just that good. And when we talk about shocking, right? I was just saying how the whole card was kind of shocking, top to bottom, start to finish, and you can't really get any more shock value than what we saw out of the Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall fight. Like, the fight ended in one strike. So there was one strike thrown, and the fight ended right then. And I think that's a record. I don't think that's ever happened before. And it's just such a unfortunate event for Chris Weidman. You got to feel for the All-American. He's such a class act. He's such a good guy. He's such a great member of the sport, member of the industry, and everybody loves him. And to see that happen in the first exchange of the entire fight was just so sad. You know, Uriah Hall, that's not the way he wanted to get the rematch victory over Chris Weidman. Obviously, he had trained really hard to try to redeem himself, to beat the guy that beat him the first time ever. And just to see it kind of end in that freak accident type of way really stinks. And at this point in Chris Weidman's career, you know, what else are they going to throw at him? He's been to the top of the mountain. He's beaten the greatest of all time in Anderson Silva, twice. He's been to the top of the mountain. Now he's on his way down. And just when he thought he was going to resurge and maybe try to climb to the highest heights again, he breaks his leg in like the most devastating way possible. It was like so gruesome. I'm glad that the UFC showed the replays on it, but it was almost hard to watch. When we watched it the first time, you just watched his leg wrap around Uriah's shin. It was like one of those cringe moments where the hair stands up on your spine and you're like, oh my God, everybody freaked out in the room. Yeah, you got to feel for him. You also got to feel for Uriah Hall. And he said if the time ever comes, the opportunity ever comes where they can run that back, he'd love to do that. So, you know, always give props to the class act of Uriah Hall. That was a cool move. And that's kind of a fluke. Obviously, it's a victory. You definitely take every victory you can get, and the easier the better. But in those types of situations, you can't help but kind of feel a little bit bad, even when you didn't do anything wrong. In fact, you did something very right, which was check a kick. And it seems that checking kicks is one of those things that's pretty foreign to a lot of MMA fighters. Nobody's checking kicks these days. Everybody just likes to absorb them. And then come round 2, round 3, they're moving a little bit slower. And if it's championship rounds, of course, they're hardly able to walk in round 4 and 5. So I feel like checking kicks is one of those things that's so neglected. And the guys that do it really, it helps them tremendously. It benefits you as a fighter if you're able to check kicks, and especially in this day and age when everybody's going for that low calf kick. Everybody wants to aim down there because they think they can be the guy that hits that tiny little nerve and shuts the guy's leg off and is able to, get some sort of a victory over him. And while that is the case, it can happen, and a lot of people don't check kicks. You do that to somebody that's going to check your kick, and you're going to wind up just like Chris Weidman. You're going to wind up just like Anderson Silva. You have to be careful. What you're dealing with is bone on bone, and Chris Weidman knows firsthand now that you don't send something to somebody's leg that if they're checking it, and Uriah Hall checked it perfectly. He pointed his shin bone out just a little bit. That calf kick that was supposed to go towards the muscle, towards the outside, went right forward towards a steel rod. It went right towards a bone, and it cracked. You think about how when you swing a baseball at something hard, like a hard piece of metal, it's gonna snap. It's one of those things. It's just how physics works. It's just how the science of kicking something kicking a hard bone with a bone like that, it's just not in your favor. So our coach crew, Bob Perez, says it all the time. If you kick somebody's leg like that and they check it, and you go for that low calf kick and they check it properly, you're going to be leaving on crutches, and you might not walk or you might not fight for a whole year. So I think he's absolutely right. We all at Main Street Muay Thai need to remember to check all the kicks, check as many of them as you can do. And if they're a low calf kick, check them, because you don't want somebody squeezing some sort of weird nerve-ending victory over you, and you want to make sure they pay for it so they don't go down there again. Like everybody always saw growing up, aim up here, aim in between the knee and the hip. You're going to really do a lot of damage there. You're really going to slow somebody down hitting them there, and there's a better chance that they can't get the leg up in time to check it. So props to Uriah Hall. He did the right thing. He won in a fair way, above board way, and hopes and prayers are with Chris Weidman and his family. This is obviously not the way he wanted to get back in there, and hopefully he can have a speedy recovery and we can see Chris Weidman back in there very soon, because obviously every time he steps in, can't miss TV. Sorry, I was my little tongue tied there. And then, of course, when we one leg injury wasn't enough on the card, so we had to have two. And that one was a little bit more strange, right? We didn't really know what was happening. When we saw Chris Weidman get kicked, we knew exactly what happened. When Jimmy Crute, when we saw his leg go out, we didn't really know exactly what was going on. And Anthony Smith, obviously, he was ready to answer the bell for round two, but nobody was more ready to answer the bell for round two than Jimmy Crute. But they were saying, no way, dude. Like, you're literally, you have no feeling, you have no way of communicating from your brain to your foot on how to walk, on how to move, on how to operate a human body, so we can't let you fight. And I'm glad that the Jacksonville doctors and the athletic commission stepped in right then and called the fight, because even though Jimmy Crute is a warrior, he's tough, he wanted to go out on his shield. You can't let somebody go out there who literally walking basically to his corner couldn't even make it because his leg kept giving out on him. And the way he fell, it kind of looked like it might have been more of a knee injury than an ankle or a leg injury somewhere, like a bone or anything like that. It looks like tendons. It looks like ligaments in his knee that gave out. And the weird thing about an ACL tear or an MCL tear or even a meniscus tear is that you can walk on it immediately after it happens, and it hurts. Don't get me wrong. It hurts. If you have as much adrenaline as Jimmy Crute has, you probably don't feel it that much, but it does hurt, but you can actually walk on it. So I think that when the doctors get finished checking him out, you're probably going to see that it was a torn ACL or a couple of torn ligaments in there, and it's just unfortunate because he probably would have kept going and might have gotten finished in a bad way by Anthony Smith, who's just a grizzled vet that is tough as nails. But the fight was very, very entertaining while it lasted. We got a great 5-minute round out of these two guys, and obviously it ended in a very strange way. But all in all, it was on par with the rest of the night of fights. I mean, everything from top to bottom, as I said multiple times in this video, was pretty shocking, all the way from George Masvidal getting KO slept to Chris Weidman kicking and breaking his leg, just like Anderson Silva kicked and broke his leg on Chris Weidman. Such a strange thing to see that injury happen and Chris Weidman be in the cage two of the times of maybe the only times we've seen that happen in the UFC. So it was a very strange one. It was a very fun night of fights. I really enjoyed watching it with my whole family. Like I said, Steven, he lost his voice. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, so he wasn't able to come in here. Because when I say he lost his voice, it's not like he's making an excuse to not film a podcast. He wanted more than anything to come in here and break this card down with me, but he just couldn't do it. He literally, I was with him all day. He could barely speak. So he's got to rest that up, go drink some hot tea, do his thing, and we will be back as the Barnhill Brothers duo very, very soon, probably later this week, and we'll be talking about the great card coming up next week. But until then, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what you guys think about where all of these champions go next. I'd like to see Usman go with Colby next. I'd like to see Rose probably fight Joanna for a third time or give Zhang an immediate rematch, even though that's kind of a tough case to make. And I'd like to see Valentina fight the winner of JoJo versus Lauren Murphy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Like, comment, and subscribe as always, and we will see you in the next one. Have a great week. Peace.